Thank you, Prabhuji. And that's why I always make a note to myself, but I didn't make a note to myself today. One of those yellow sticky notes. Anyway, so thank you, Prabhu. All right. So the other point is, we talked about the sincere feeling. We talked about the feelings of the heart. But there's one other thing that keeps us from making our progress in devotional service. What is that? Anybody? Huh? What keeps us from making good progress in our devotional service?
Prajalpa, Prabhu.
Okay, Prajalpa is definitely there.
Vaishnava Aparad.
Yes, Govinda Mohini. Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Our offenses against the holy name, which includes the Vaishnava Aparad, keep us from making progress. And a lot of times we make, good progress forward and we go back because of our offenses. Our offenses keep us from developing love for Krishna. And it is sometimes so serious that Narottam Das Thakur said in his glorification of the Vaishnavas, he said, Toma sthane aparad, Hari sthane aparad, Hari sthane aparad tare hari naam. Toma sthane aparad nahi paritran. Which means that you commit offense against the Lord himself. Simply chanting his holy name will get rid of that offense. But when we commit offense against the devotee of the Lord, there's no hope. We are done. Not just done, we are done forever. Unless the devotee decides to forgive. And we know the story of Ambrish Maharaj. Correct. So we have to always keep in mind, how do we minimize our offenses? Now, that's a different topic. One day we'll talk about that. But for now, our topmost, what we call nishedh, which is the don'ts. Do not offend a devotee. Do not commit offenses against the holy name. There's only 10 of them. Just not do it. Okay? Any questions or comments on that? All right. Okay. Let's read the next paragraph, please.
Shall I read it?
Please go ahead.
Regarding worship of the form of the Lord, Aditi Rupa Goswami has written,
Excuse me.
My dear friend, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within this material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing on the bank of Kesi Gata, a bathing place in Vrindavan. He is known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting. He is playing upon his flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky.
Right. Thank you, Prabhu. So, I didn't realize that I was already covering this particular point a few minutes ago. But again, the point here is that it's a poetic metaphor where it appears that the gopi is condemning something, but in the guise of praise, or praising something in the guise of condemnation. So it looks like it's condemning what seems to praise, looks like it's praising what seems to condemn. So, excuse me, what is to be condemned is the material attachment. What is to be praised is the attachment to Krishna. But this gopi seems to be saying the other way around. So we have to understand the meaning, but the point being, if you simply look at Krishna with ointment of love, the salva of love, Premanjan Chrit Bhakti Vilochanena, Santa Sadeva Hridayesh Vilokyanti. If simply had that ointment of love in our eyes, we'll see Krishna with eyes that we have never seen him before. And that seeing Krishna alone is enough to bring us to the point of complete attachment to Prema Bhakti. Not just Bhava Bhakti, but Prema Bhakti. So, And when that happens, there's a verse in Bhagavatam 1-7. It says, Vasudeva Bhagavate Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatu Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahatukam. It says that as soon as we start performing devotional service to Krishna, our attachment to the material world start to disappear. Vairagya, the renunciation appears. And we get the knowledge of who we are, who Krishna is, and what our relationship with Krishna is. Automatically, these things happen. There's no separate process required to do that. Okay? And we become completely unattached. I think that's the right word. Completely unattached to anything material, to the worldly affairs, to this, any attraction of the material world. We're totally indifferent to them. And actually, I don't know how many of you recall it, but when we discussed Bhava Bhakti a long time ago, we discussed that one of the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti was Virakti, which means renunciation. Okay. So basically, Rupa Goswami is telling us here that seeing the deity of Govinda, the form of Govinda, can quickly evoke devotional ecstasy once again, even in a neophyte. Okay? Any questions? All right, then let's move on to the next paragraph. Who would like to do that? Anybody who's awake can do that.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Okay, Beta, go ahead.
The purport of this verse is that if someone becomes attached to the Sri Murti or deity of Krishna by worshipping at home, then he will forget his relationships of so-called friendship, love, and society. Thus, it is the duty of every householder to install deities of the Lord at home and to begin the process of worshipping along with all of his family members. This will save everyone from such unwanted activities as going to clubs, cinemas, and dancing parties, and smoking, drinking, etc. All such nonsense will be forgotten if one stresses the worship of the deities at home.
Right. So there are a couple of points that I want to make here. One is that according to our Vaishnava philosophy, every householder should have home deities. Not only should we have home deities, but we should also have a name for them. What's the reason for the name? Like, why do we have Radha Shiv or Gopinath? Why don't we just have Radha Krishna? I mean, that's who they are. They're Radha Krishna. But why do we have Radha Shiv or Gopinath? Why do we have Radha Ras Bihari in Mumbai? Why do we have Radha Gopinath again in Chapati? Ours is Shiv Gopinath, and so on and so forth. Radha Madhav, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, so many different names. Why do we do that? Anybody wants to answer?
To develop a personal relationship with...
Precisely. We want to develop a personal relationship. Remember, our movement is a very personal movement. Krishna is a very personal person. There's nothing impersonal about Krishna. For the pure devotees, he's somebody's friend, somebody's lover, somebody's son, somebody's friend, and so on and so forth. The point is, there is a relationship. Of course, those devotees we are just mentioning in Vrindavan, they don't even know his God. We're not at that point yet. But even knowing that he's God, having that name gives us the opportunity to develop that personal relationship and somehow know a little bit more about these deities. For example, when we think of Radha Chichu Gopinath, forgive me, I'm giving the Toronto example because that's where I go. I've been going for almost 40 years. But Radha Chichu Gopinath, every time I say that name, there's an image that develops in my mind. That image is the Lord stealing a pot of kheer for his devotee Madhavendra Puri. And start thinking about how glorified Madhavan must be, how glorified the Lord is to steal for a devotee. And then suddenly, there's a different feeling. There's a different feeling for the same deity compared to if we just said Radha Krishna. Sometimes I meet some people in the temple, and they will say, they'll point to the deities of Radha Krishna and they say, Bhagwan ji aisa soch kah rahe hai. Bhagwan ji ne aisa kiya. Right away, you know, this guy has no attachment for Krishna. This guy doesn't understand the personal aspect. It's just a generic name, Bhagwan. Right? But on the other hand, when you say, my Radha Chicho Gopinath, our Radha Chicho Gopinath, there's a different feeling. They say, somehow I'm related to him. Somehow I'm connected to him. Somehow I'm bound to him. Which won't come if I just simply Radha Krishna. Does that make sense? Yes, no?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Thank you. So the point again being that we want to have that personal relationship with the Lord, with the deities at home. And that's why we feed them. That's why we clothe them. That's why we bathe them. And that's why we put them to sleep at night. And then we wake them up in the morning. That's why we decorate them. All those kind of things we're doing because it's a personal relationship. It's a person living in our house. I'm sorry. It's a person living in his house, letting me live in that house also. So for example, our deity, our home deities are Radha Govindji. So we are living in Radha Govindji's house. He is out of his kindness letting me live here like a renter. I'm supposed to serve him. And that's the feeling. That's the feeling Krishna is looking for. And that's the reason why we have home deities, why we worship them, why we serve them, to have that relationship. Excuse me. Similarly, when we go to the temple and we go and attend the Shringar Arati, we chant with the devotees, and, what are they doing? They're again giving us a sensory perception, like I can see them, I can feel them, I can sing for them, they're hearing me, I can dance for them, they're watching me, on and on. That relationship starts to develop more and more and more. And when that happens, the attachment to other things like Rupa Goswami is saying, the clubs, the cinemas, the dance parties, and drinking, smoking, etc., the desire for that is reduced significantly. The more the connection, the more the attachment to the deities, the less the attachment or desire to do any of those things. Okay?
Material desire go down.
Material desire goes down significantly. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. So as a matter of fact, this is why our activities in the temple, whether it's home temple or temple, they're known as Vaikuntha activities. We're serving Krishna directly. And the more selflessly we are able to do that, the more Vaikuntha it is. And ultimately, it can actually come to the point where it's pure love, and then it's Golok Vrindavan activity. Okay?
There's one thing, just to have the deities at home. The other thing is to serve the deities at home. Like we see in India, like most of the people have the deities at the home, just like for a decoration, and they have no interest for the serving the deities. Like when we have learned from ISKCON or from our disciplic association, from our Guru Maharaj, by the association of our God, brother and sisters, or we can say our family friends, which we say like a Krishna consciousness friend, then we have understood like the important thing is to have the deities at home, but more important than that is to serve the deities at home too.
Oh, thank you. It's a very good point. I have
also said in Bhagavad Gita too, Mamcha yo avya vicharan bhakti yogen sevte.
Yes. So the point is that Krishna and his deities are not a showpiece. It's not a museum piece. They're a person who need to be served. I have seen also people's houses, even in Toronto, where you go and say, where's your temple? And they open the closet, linen closet, and they show one shelf where Krishna is hiding. And every once in a while, they open the door, say, peekaboo, Krishna, and then close the door again. That is not service. Similarly, I have a friend in Detroit. He's got a 15,000 square foot house. And so we're visiting, and I said, hey, do you have a temple room? She said, oh, yeah. He was very proud. It took us to a corner. It was the broom closet, 2 feet by 2 feet in a 15,000 square foot. It 4 square feet for Krishna. That's not service. That's not temple. So yeah, it has to be reasonable, and the service has to be there. Otherwise, it's no good. Okay? Thank you, Prabhu.
मैं पढ़ूं?
हाँ जी, पढ़िए, बिल्कुल पढ़िए.
Rupa Goswami further writes, my dear foolish friend, I think that you have already heard some of the auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam, which decries seeking the results of fruitive activities, economic development, and liberation. I think that now it is certain that gradually the verses of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the pastimes of the Lord, will enter your ears and go into your heart.
Wonderful. So this is another poetic metaphor here. Goswami is instructing us, encouraging us to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And I love it how he started. He says, my dear foolish friend, which means like addressing me. And but I'm so happy he's calling me a friend. But he's saying,
only Prabhu?
Everyone.
No. I can't say that. So
but we accept it.
So he's saying that you've already heard some of the auspicious verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's basically saying that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is so glorious that even the 4 Purusharthas, what are the 4 Purusharthas?
Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha.
Yes. So Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha, which means the religiosity, economic development, karmas, or fruitive activities, and liberation. It's like they all pale in comparison. There's no comparison between hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and any of these 4 Purusharthas. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is so much above, so much more glorious than this. And we may recall that the denunciation or considering liberation to be insignificant is one of the characteristics of Bhava Bhakti. So again, he's saying that simply by sincerely hearing the auspicious verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can develop Bhava Bhakti. Okay? All right. Next paragraph.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Please go ahead.
In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that unless one has the ability to throw out, just like garbage, the fruitive results of ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and becoming one with the Supreme or salvation, one cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam deals exclusively with devotional service. Only one who studies Srimad Bhagavatam in the spirit of renunciation can understand the pastimes of the Lord that are described in the 10th canto. In other words, one should not try to understand the topics of the 10th canto, such as the Rasa Leela, love dance, unless he has spontaneous attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. One must be situated in pure devotional service before he can relish Srimad Bhagavatam as it is.
Yeah. So this is another very powerful statement by Rupa Goswami here. And again, last night we were talking about one of the verses, we're talking about how do you get satisfaction from reading or studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So same idea is being explained here one more time, saying unless we have thrown out just like garbage the fruitive results of ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, or moksha, which is Saichu moksha, becoming one with the Lord, one cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Which means that because Srimad Bhagavatam deals only with one topic. What's the topic of Bhagavatam?
Krishna Bhakti.
Okay, yeah, pure devotional service of Lord Krishna. Correct. So that's the only topic. It's exclusively dealing with that one topic. You may recall the second verse of Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter. Dhamma pojit katavahatra. Anything that has nothing to do with Krishna is false religion, is totally rejected here. Totally rejected. So anything that has to do with false religion and economic development, moksha, fruitive activities, they're all false religion. Because they have to do with you, not with Krishna. With us, I should say, not with Krishna. So unless we get rid of that and consider all that like garbage, we cannot understand, we cannot appreciate, we cannot relish, we cannot feel satisfaction of studying Srimad Bhagavatam. You may all know the story of Sanatana Goswami having the touchstone, right? You all know the story. Where did he put it? Where did he put the touchstone?
The garbage.
In the garbage, exactly. So to him, it had same value as garbage. And garbage we throw out in Toronto once a week, but many places once a day, twice a day, meaning there's no value to it. So until we get to that point where anything material has no value to it, we can throw it all out like garbage. We're only interested exclusively in becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna. Until then, we cannot relish. Can you excuse me for 1 second? There's somebody at the door. Sorry. Okay, so unless we're at a point where we're able to reject anything material, as badly as we reject the garbage, it's hard to appreciate how to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. And because if we haven't done that, we cannot relish, we cannot appreciate, we certainly should stay away from 10th canto, especially those 5 chapters of Ras Leela. We should stay away from all that because all we will do is commit offenses. So we have to work very hard at developing a spontaneous attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, we have to work very, very hard to become situated in pure devotional service. Now, before we can relish Srimad Bhagavatam, you should be thinking of one question in your mind. This sounds like a circular argument. If you are not a pure devotee, you cannot relish it. But you're supposed to read it because it's one of the 5 potent forms or limbs of Srimad Bhagavatam, of devotional service. So wait a minute, this is not making any sense. Do you understand the point I'm making here? Everybody understands what I'm saying?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so what that means is that it is perfectly okay to make that statement that I just did because devotional service is sadhya and sadhan. In other words, it's the means to the goal and it's the goal. Does everybody understand that point?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, of course.
So this is what they are saying here. The goal is to become a pure devotee, to appreciate Srimad Bhagavatam. The goal to study Srimad Bhagavatam is to become pure devotee. In other words, the means and the goal at the same time. If you study Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll become pure devotee. But you cannot appreciate pure Srimad Bhagavatam unless you're a pure devotee. But you keep reading it anyway. Lage raho munna bhai, just lage raho. Sooner or later, you'll get there. Okay? That's a very important point. Everybody clear on that? Or do you have a question?
That is why Guru Maharaj stresses on reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Right. Okay. And we have a story of in the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya, the story of a person by the name of Dhundukari. I won't have the time to get into the details, but basically it was a person who became a ghost because he was a bad person. But finally he came to his senses. His brother was a pure devotee by the name of
Guru Maharaj.
Gokarna.
Gokarna, sorry.
Yeah.
Gokarna. And he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Gokarna. And he was, as a ghost, he sat on a bamboo stick, which had 7 knots. And he was supposed to narrating Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days, the Bhagavad Saptah. And every day, 1 knot broke. At the end of 7 days, all 7 knots were broken. He was liberated. He went back home, back to Godhead. But there were hundreds of villagers listening at the same time, the same Srimad Bhagavatam. They were all still there. And they asked what happened. How come he got liberated and we're still here? And it was explained to them. It was explained to them how to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. What's the process? What's the mood? What are the steps? And they did that, and they had to get a second opportunity. They all went back home, back to God. So a lesson for us. Let's ask ourselves, are we at that point where we are actually listening to Srimad Bhagavatam the way we're supposed to? Are we appreciating? Are we relishing Srimad Bhagavatam the way we should be? If not, just keep doing this, the 5 processes, these 5 forms of devotional service, especially these 5. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it until we get there. Means is also the goal. So that's why we're doing sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti will one day get us there. And that's why the more sincerely we do sadhana bhakti, the quicker we will go there. So I'm hoping that I'm not confusing anybody. The means and the goal are the same. That has to be understood very well for anything I've said today to make sense. If it's not clear, please ask.
It is clear, Prabhupada.
Okay, all right. Okay, who wants to do the next paragraph?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. In the above 2 verses of Rupa Goswami, there are some metaphorical analogies that indirectly condemn the association of materialistic society, friendship, and love. People are generally attracted to society, friendship, and love, and they make elaborate arrangements and strong endeavors to develop these material contaminations. But to see the Sri Murti of Sri Radha and Krishna is to forget such endeavors for material association. Rupa Goswami composed his verse in such a way that he was seemingly praising the material association of friendship and love, and was condemning the audience of Sri Murti or Govinda. This metaphor analogy is constructed in such a way that things which seem to be praised are condemned, and things which are to be condemned are praised. The actual import of the verse is that one must see the form of Govinda if one at all wants to forget the nonsense of material friendship, love, and society.
Right. So I think this is summarizing what we just discussed.
Yeah.
And especially the line I want to repeat that you read just now is the metaphorical analogy is constructed in such a way that things which seem to be praised are condemned, and things which are to be condemned are praised. So in other words, here Rupa Goswami is condemning the thought of or the act of looking at the beautiful form of Govinda, which is of course to be praised, but he's condemning it. And his praising was to be condemned, which is the things material, the material world, the material society, friendship, love, etc. Okay.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, reverse psychology, exactly right. Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. Then let's move on. Who would like to click the...
I can read, Prabhuji.
No, somebody who's not done it yet today.
Okay.
I can do, Prabhu.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Srila Rupa Goswami has similarly described the transcendental nature of relishing topics which concern Krishna. A devotee once said, "It is very astonishing that since I have seen this personality of Godhead who is washed by the tears of my eyes, there..." A devotee once said, "It is very astonishing that since I have seen this personality of Godhead who is washed by the tears of my eyes, there is shivering of my body, and he has made me a failure in executing my material duties. Since seeing him, I cannot remain silently at home. I wish to go out to him, always. The purport of this statement is that as soon as one is fortunate enough to contact a pure devotee, one must be anxious immediately to hear about Krishna, to learn about Krishna, or, in other words, to become fully Krishna conscious.
Very well. So I'm thinking about an incident in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya was asked to define the 3 types of devotees. And he said the Kanishta Adhikari is one who chants Krishna's name once in a while. Madhyama Adhikari is the one who's chanting all the time. And Uttama Adhikari is the one that you look at him and you want to chant Krishna's name. So here, same thing is being mentioned, that a pure devotee, if you are fortunate enough to come in contact with a pure devotee, then we become anxious immediately to hear more about Krishna, to learn more about Krishna, become more Krishna conscious. So that's why I'm basically indirectly here is emphasizing the importance of devotee association. Association of the devotees, I'm talking about pure devotees who are showing or exhibiting these symptoms of devotional service. They have amazing potency to inspire others into Krishna consciousness. And so basically here, Rupa Goswami is illustrating the efficacy of serving devotees. You start serving pure devotee, you automatically become a devotee. You automatically become Krishna conscious. You automatically become attached. You automatically fall in love with Krishna simply by serving this pure devotee. They inspire us, they empower us, all those kind of things happen. So once again, the significance of devotee association. Okay? Any questions? Okay. The next paragraph talks about the importance of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Who would like to read that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I read?
Go ahead. Yogeshwar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Similarly, there is a statement about hearing and chanting the Mahamantra. It is said that saints have been able to hear the vibrating strings of the Veena in the hands of Narada, who is always singing the glories of Lord Krishna. Now, this same sound vibration has entered my ears, and I'm always feeling the presence of the Supreme Personality. Gradually, I'm becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment.
Right. So, just hearing or chanting Krishna's name, the Hare Krishna mantra, to be very specific, allows us to feel Krishna's presence. Now, obviously, we're talking about pure chanting here, and we hear this all the time, that when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Krishna is actually sitting with us. He's walking with us. He's listening to us. He's there. And there's no question about it. We can feel his presence if we chant purely. So, once again, going back to the point I was making earlier, we're not chanting purely, but if we keep chanting, one day we will chant purely. So therefore, once again, the means to become pure chanter is to chant now. Sometimes people say, well, I make so many offenses, so maybe I'm better off not chanting, so at least I'm not making offenses. No, because then you will never move. So make offenses now, keep chanting. One day you will not make offenses and chant. And then it's bingo, you're there. Okay? And once again, hearing Narad Muni chant Krishna's name, chanting Krishna's name, reduces, actually makes us devoid of any attachment for material enjoyment. Because once again, the Bhava Bhakti will happen because of the mercy of Krishna. Chanting Krishna's name can evoke Bhava Bhakti, even in a neophyte, as I've been saying, with all the other processes. Okay. Next, Rupa Goswami describes the benefits of residing in Mathura. Who would like to read that? Somebody who's not volunteered yet.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hari Bol. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Again, he has described Mathura Mandala. I remember the Lord standing by the banks of the Yamuna river, so beautiful amidst the Kadamba trees. Many birds are chirping in the gardens. And these impressions are always giving me transcendental realization of beauty and bliss. This feeling about Mathura Mandala and Vrindavana by Rupa Goswami can actually be felt even by non-devotees. The places in the 84 square mile district of Mathura are so beautifully situated on the banks of the river Yamuna that anyone who goes there will never want to return to this material world. These statements by Rupa Goswami are factually realized descriptions of Mathura and Vrindavana. All these qualities prove that Mathura and Vrindavana are situated transcendentally. Otherwise, there is no possibility of invoking our transcendental sentiments in these places. Such transcendental feelings are aroused immediately and without fail after one arrives in Mathura or Vrindavana.
Right. So, Mathura Mandal includes Vrindavan. Actually, it includes the whole Brija. And here, once again, Rupa Goswami is talking about how he remembers Krishna standing on the banks of river Yamuna, looking so beautiful, under a kadam tree, and all the right environment is there. And it's an image imprinted in my mind. I'm always seeing this. And whenever I see this, I get a wonderful realization of Krishna's beauty and the bliss that I feel, the transcendental bliss I feel, just from remembering this image that now I have of Krishna, standing by the river Yamuna under a kadam tree, looking so beautiful. And Rupa Goswami is saying that you don't have to be a pure devotee to get this feeling. Anyone who goes there can get that feeling, and if that feeling comes in, they will never want to come back to the material world. Now, once again, the more neophyte, the more karmi we are, the less this happens. But it happens. I mean, I consider myself one of the most neophytes, but even when I go, for a little amount of time that I go, there's that feeling in the heart that it would be nice if I can stay here a little bit longer. I don't, but every once in a while that feeling comes in because the attachment does get developed. And when you're there watching all these Leela Sthalis, which is the places of pastimes, and all the reminders of those pastimes happening, they are still there. For a moment, you really forget where we came from. I'm talking about like we came from Toronto, we came from wherever, Vancouver, wherever. You forget for a little while. And there's some feeling that's hard to describe, but it does come in. And basically, Rupa Goswami is saying that it just means that Mathura, Vrindavan are situated transcendentally. They are transcendental place. They're not material place. Whether we can see the transcendentality of the place or not, that's our problem. But they are transcendental place. And somehow we have to be able to appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll never become attached to these places. Excuse me. And that's why we recommend, our gurus, our senior devotees, our philosophy recommends that we go to these places again and again and again. Because every time we go there, a little bit more bliss is there, a little bit more attachment to the place is there. And hopefully one day, it'll be full. It'll be there in us fully, and then our attachment to the material world would be finished. Well, that's our prayer anyway. Okay. Now, those of you who have good memory may recall that this is basically a repeat from what we read in chapter 12, where we had mentioned Varah Puran, where we said that anybody who goes to No, anybody who becomes attracted to a place other than Mathura Vrindavan, they are captured by Maya. And it doesn't matter. Let me say it again. The results of going to all sorts of places of pilgrimage are not even close to being equal to the result of going to Mathura Mandal, to Vrindavan. The scriptures say that simply by hearing, by remembering, by glorifying, by desiring to be there, by seeing, or by touching this Mathura Mandal, we can achieve all our desires. That's how important going to, visiting, and living in Mathura Mandal is. And there's no exaggeration there. Any questions or comments?
Today morning, I was thinking, Prabhuji, how nice it was at Vrindavan.
Right.
A nice routine we had, 3 o'clock get up, go Mangala Aarti, go Darshan Aarti, and so on. So busy. The day goes so good.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right.
I was thinking this.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, who would like to read the next paragraph?
I can read, Prabhu.
Oh, please go ahead, Nana. Yeah.
In these statements about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, but actually there is no overestimation. Some devotees, as revealed scriptures give evidence, have had immediate results by which association, although this is not possible for all. For example, the Kumaras immediately become devotees simply by smelling the incense in the temple. Bilva Mangala Thakur simply heard about Krishna and then immediately gave up his beautiful girlfriend and started out for Mathura and Vrindavan, where he would become a perfect Vaishnava. So these statements are not overestimations, nor are they stories. They are actual facts, but are true for certain devotees and do not necessarily apply to all. These descriptions, even if considered overestimation, must be taken as they are in order to divert our attention from the fleeting material beauty to the eternal beauty of Krishna consciousness. And for the person who's already in contact with Krishna consciousness, is described results are not unusual.
Thank you. So, when I read this paragraph, I feel good and sometimes I feel sad. I feel sad because some people actually do think that, oh, this is all exaggeration and how is it possible? And I don't know anybody who's felt that. And, it's all in the books, the stories. But it's not. There's no story. Story implies something that's made up. These are historical facts. These people like Bilva Mangal Thakur, Kumaras, Kumaras still exist. Bilva Mangal Thakur actually existed. And it is true that he became such a pure devotee that actually this very quickly I'll tell you a story that when he was in Vrindavan, he was blind, and there's a whole story behind that as well. But anyway, he wanted to see, and being blind, he couldn't see anything. And she was praying to Krishna, Krishna, you show me. So Krishna came as a little boy, held his hand and said, Baba, let me show you these places. Just taking him around, saying, this is this. And at the end of the day, he said, okay, Baba, I have to go. Baba, I have to go. And Bilva Mangal Thakur grabbed his hand very tightly and said, no, I cannot let you go now. You're here, you're with me. Now I want you to stay with me all the time. I won't let you go. And he held his hand very tightly. Well, Krishna is more powerful. He released his hand and ran away. As soon as he heard the footsteps of Krishna running away, Bilva Mangal Thakur sang a beautiful verse. And it's in Hindi. I'll translate it in English later on for those who do not understand Hindi. He said, Haath chulaye jaat ho, nirbal jaan ke moh. हृदय से जब जाओगे सबल जानी हूं तो. He said that you think I'm weak, so you released your hand from my grip and you ran away. But I'll tell you what, Krishna, this is a challenge for you. I'll consider you strong when you get out of my heart. And you know what? Krishna came back and said, Baba, I'm not strong. You're stronger. And that's what a devotee can do. That's the power of a devotee. That devotee, blind or not, can see, can feel, can taste, can relish the beauty and the significance of Mathura Mandal. Those of us who have such a contaminated consciousness find it very hard, and therefore sometimes we think that it's not real, it's all overestimation, it's all exaggeration, but it's not. Our lack of faith, our lack of belief does not change the fact that this is all true. It does not take away the significance of Mathura Mandal. It does not take away the importance of Mathura Mandal simply because we don't have faith. Our faith does not determine the status of this place. That's already determined. It's transcendental. Krishna was there. Krishna is still there in his unmanifest form. Past times are still going on. This place remains as important as ever. It's a transcendental place in the middle of the material place. If we have the qualification of purity, we can see the transcendental nature of the place. If we don't, we don't. It's very simple. Any questions, comments? Okay. Who would like to read the next paragraph?
Can I read, Prabhu?
Nima Mataji, please go ahead.
Some scholars argue that simply by following the principles of Varna and Ashrama, one can gradually rise to the perfection reached by practicing devotional service. But this argument is not accepted by the great authorities. Lord Chaitanya also condemned this idea while he was talking with Ramananda Rai about the gradual development of devotional service. He rejected the idea of the importance of Varna Ashrama Dharma when it was put forward by Ramananda Rai. He said that this advancement of Varna and Ashrama are merely external. There is a higher principle. In Bhagavad Gita, also the Lord says that one has to give up all the principles of elevation and take simply to the method of Krishna consciousness. This will help one in achieving the highest perfection of life. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Okay, so here another very important point is being made. What is the purpose of Varnashram Dharma? Anybody? Also, may I request that when you are reading, if you can turn the video on, because what happens is that the recording is then whatever sees on the screen. So if it's blank on the screen, then the whole recording will have this blank. So if you don't mind, next person, and so from now on, anybody who's reading it, please turn the video on. Anyway, so what is the purpose of Varnashram?
Prabhu, can I answer?
Please do, yes, of course.
Okay, Varna Ashram, is it like when you are following the rules and regulations of the Dharma?
Yes, but what is the purpose of it?
To have a good society.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So,
Prabhuji, like in Grihastha also, so that we can stay in a renounced...
Is it possible to put the video
on? Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, great, wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
So that in whether we are in Grihastha ashram also, we can stay in a renounced way, serving Lord Krishna.
Well, so Varnashram, you don't necessarily serve Krishna. Varnashram, if you look at the 4 Varnas and the 4 ashrams, they don't talk about Krishna. Right? Because this is external. So essentially, the idea is that we are we're living on an animal level. Eat, drink, and be merry. Right? Varnashram Dharma because of rules and regulations, brings us to what you call human level. But human level, you're back to 4 Purusharthas: religiosity, economic development, satisfaction of material desires, and moksha. That is not devotional service. That's why Lord Chaitanya, when Ramanand described this Varnashram, he said, this is external, move on. He didn't want to hear it. This has nothing to do with devotional service. It's totally external. It's about your body. It's not about your soul. It's your body that's a Brahmin. It's your body that's a Kshatriya. It's your body that's sannyasi. It's your body that's Grihastha. It's all about body. It is external. Don't talk to me about that. Move on. And then Raman moved on. Okay, so the same point is being made. You okay with that?
Yeah, Prabhuji. So we can say like to make us more disciplined towards the spiritual life.
Well, yeah, it does. It does. But Varnashram itself is not spiritual. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So that's why Lord Chaitanya completely rejected the idea of Varnashram Dharma. He said, this is totally external. There is a higher principle. And that higher principle is achieving the highest perfection of life, which is love of Krishna. Okay? By Varnashram Dharma, you cannot get love of Krishna. You can get material results. You can become a demigod. You can become famous, on and on and on. But you cannot achieve prema. For that, you have to take the shelter of devotional service. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to read the next paragraph?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
This is the last paragraph, right, Prabhu?
Uh-huh.
In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord himself says, one should execute the prescribed duties of Varna and Ashrama as long as he has not developed spontaneous attachment for hearing of pastime and activity. In other words, the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashrama are ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. All of these things are recommended for persons who have not developed Krishna consciousness. In fact, all such activities are recommended in the revealed scriptures only to bring one to the point of Krishna consciousness. But one who has already developed spontaneous attachment for Krishna does not require to execute the duties prescribed in the scriptures.
Right. So again, this is the point I was making earlier, that the Varnashram is meant for the 4 Purusharthas, for bringing us to the human level from where we can become Krishna conscious, because at animal level, you simply cannot be Krishna conscious. And right now, majority, 99.9% of us, I don't mean people of the call, I mean in the world, are on animal level. We are, there's a verse that describes human beings as animals without a tail. And that's basically the only difference between us and the animals if we're interested only in eating, mating, defending, and sleeping. And for those who are following the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashram, they have not developed Krishna consciousness. But once we develop Krishna consciousness and become serious about that, we don't need the Varna Ashram Dharma. As a matter of fact, it is said that it is an offense to ask a pure devotee what his or her Varna is. It's an offense. Kaun si jaat hai tumhari? What is your jaat? It's an offense. Because there is no jaat for a Vaishnava anymore. They transcend the Varnashram system. They're not even sannyasis in the sense of sannyasis who basically leave home, go to a forest, or pretend to not have any attachments. It's not about that. Sannyasi, the renunciation, Krishna says, is not about giving up things. Rather, it's about becoming attached to Krishna and using everything in the service of Krishna. We talk about the concept of yukta vairagya, the engaged discussion. Anya anasaktasya vishyan yatarham upijanjita nirbandha krishna sammade yuktam vairagyam muchate. So we use everything, but we use it in the service of Krishna. So our initiation is that we're not going to use it for our gratification, but we use it for Krishna's gratification, but not reject it. Srila Prabhupada traveled in a Rolls Royce. He traveled in all sorts of airplanes. He wasn't rejecting any of that. He had the best dictaphones. He had best pens. He had the best watches. He wasn't rejecting any of those. But he was using it all in the service of Krishna. He didn't care about the varna and ashram of any of his disciples. It didn't matter. Who you are, what family, what varna you were born in is irrelevant. What's relevant is whether you have now become Krishna conscious. So Rupa Goswami is saying the same thing here, that once we become Krishna conscious and we start executing the 64 limbs, especially the 5 limbs of devotional service that we talked about today, then we transcend all varnashram. And then we become eligible to move to Bhav Bhakti, even if we are beginners. Because once again, remember, it's the goal and it's the means, the same. The means is the goal and goal is the means to get to the goal. So as long as we can remember that, regardless of what stage of neophyteness we are at, we get progress. What's required is sincerity. What's required is determination. What's required is patience. What's required is ability to follow the instructions of the Shastras, of Guru and the Vaishnavas. What's required is the desire, sincere desire to serve Krishna and Krishna's devotees. That's all we need. They might sound like big words, but they're not. They're doable. You just have to have the desire to do it. You have to have the conviction that that is really the goal of my life. You have to have that understanding and, again, firm conviction that that is the purpose of my life. That's why Krishna sent me to this world. That I have suffered enough. I've made enough mistakes. I think it's time to start correcting those mistakes. It's time to start serving Krishna with as much sincerity as possible. It's time to start serving the devotees as sincerely as possible. It's time to start taking our devotional life seriously and do something about the miserable state we are in and take it from there. Then it becomes easy. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Prabhu, I have something to add.
Bolo.
Reading the last paragraph, it reminds me of one of the Dohana. Jat na pucho sadhu ki puch lijiyo gyan. It reminds me of that. It's really perfectly said here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Realizations? Corrections? Advice? Chastisement? Take anybody you want.
We can say from the experience of all of us, how we have started and how we have get attracted to the deity form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we can say from our experience what we have learned. And I would say from my experience, Prabhuji, right now I can say we don't have any association except the devotees of the temple or devotees or of our God brother and God sister. So this is all the effect of, I would say, of our association with the devotees, and furthermore, as it goes on and goes on, the mercy of our Guru Maharaj, and then the mercy of the previous Vaishnavas, including Srila Prabhupada and previous Acharya. So it eventually has, we have not reached to that level, but I can certainly say we have reached to the that level where we don't associate with the people other than the devotees of the temple or our like-minded people, I would say.
That's correct. That's correct. Very true. I'm sure everybody will agree with what you just said. We can see the difference.
Yes, Prabhuji. Fully agree with that statement that what Katwanga Prabhuji made. Like within this word, material word, I would say it's the transcendental word. At least Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, they have arranged for us. And then definitely we can see the difference. Yes,
correct.
Prabhuji.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else?
Prabhu, can I talk?
Please, of course you can.
Okay, when you were talking about the Yamuna River and the Kadamba tree and stuff like that, and I was just in Vrindavan, and I can just visualize everything like that, and it's so holy and so nice. Like it was very beautiful.
That's right. That's right, Mother. You can actually feel it. You can actually feel it. There's no question about it.
Yes.
There's something very different. I mean, we may not be able to appreciate it fully, but we know there's something very different about this place. It's a feeling that you don't get anywhere else.
The other thing is, Prabhuji, the purpose of our visiting those holy places, especially we will say the Mathura Mandal or Bij Mandal, we have to bring that feeling back to us, and we have to have that internal feeling improved or developed in our consciousness. Otherwise, there is no purpose to go there. You know, if we cannot bring that feeling along with us, then it's useless to go those places. Or actually, it does not happen with most of our devotees. I would say initiated devotees or our associated devotees, they come back to this material world, what we live in, unfortunately. They come back with that feeling that that have always, you know, we have a spontaneous love, we can say, for Krishna consciousness or with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right.
We have that realization when we go there, like we feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
That's great. That's great, Prabhu. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. In today's world, do we have like the proper ashrama system? Because like when we went to college or school, it's not I think in the spirit that is mentioned for like a brahmacharya that we executed that dharma or that ashram. Similarly, like when we get into grihastha ashram, like yeah, there are responsibilities, but in the modern world, people are mostly thinking of like, okay, how is this convenient for me in the long run? So do we have a perfect, let's say, ashrama system anywhere today, which is being referred to here in the chapter?
In this day, age, and time, that's very hard. Now, Prabhupada always emphasized Varnashram, but more from the point of view of a way of life than anything else. And his idea was that you should go to a farm and be there and then follow the Varnashram system. I think even he acknowledged that if you're living in a city, that's not possible. And that's basically what we are witnessing, you are witnessing. Very few things in the material world are pure. So to say there's a pure grihastha, there's a pure brahmachari, there's a pure sannyas, doesn't exist. We have too many contaminations to come. And it's the duality of the nature of duality of this material world is such that it doesn't allow for purity. So for example, you won't even find anybody who's purely in the mode of goodness or purely in the mode of ignorance. You know, it changes from time to time, from place to place, from the same person. So there's no such thing, or at least very, very rare to have a pure whatever. So Prabhupada did try to start the system, and there has been a very limited success in a couple of places. But that's about it. In the ordinary life, it doesn't exist. The purity, I mean. You have a hodgepodge of, you know, the same guy who's not married, you know, is he really a brahmachari? Well, not by the strict definitions of brahmachari. But you can call him brahmachari because he's not married. But that's about the only thing. He's not, there's brahmachari about him. Right? If you start reading the description, it's very strict. It's very difficult to be a brahmachari. Because they even talk about your thoughts. How many people do we know whose thoughts are pure? So on and so forth. My point is, you're correct. You don't see it.
Okay. So the easiest way is Harinam, like from what I
easiest way is transcend the Varnashram system. Just chant, chant, chant. And so let's focus on increasing the quality of our chanting. Let's focus on increasing the quality of our devotee association, meaning serving the devotees. Let's focus on improving our deity worship. The 64 offenses against deity worship. Let's sit down one day and talk about which ones are we committing. What is the quality of our deity worship? How many offenses are we committing? Let's sit down one day and ask ourselves, am I just doing this as a parrot? Or is it actually having an effect? And I'm not talking about the effect that Katwanga Prabhu was talking about. Yes, almost all of us are not doing stuff that we were doing before. Almost all of us are a little more Krishna conscious than we were before. That is very true. But how many of us are actually living the life of a Krishna conscious person? Because if that was not the issue, then you won't have fights between the devotees. You won't be disappointed in seeing the behavior of some of the senior, so-called senior devotees. You won't have all the issues that we're having in this ISKCON, on and on and on. It's just simply not there. It's very hard. So we have to sit back and say, let's not worry about other people. Let me ask about me. Which of these faults do I have? What can I do to correct my faults? Don't let me focus on anybody else's fault until I've completely got rid of all my flaws. And believe me, we'll all be busy until our death just correcting that. And there will be no time for seeing other people's faults. It's only when we choose to ignore our faults that we start to see other people's fault.
Prabhuji,
Haji.
Today we were reading regarding Prabhupada ji, and Prabhupada ji mentioned 80% of his disciples did not follow his instructions properly.
Did not what?
Did not follow his instructions properly.
Oh yeah, 80%.
That is why he was suffering.
Yeah.
He suffered a lot.
And I think, Prabhu, if you look at the disciples of Srila Prabhupada who become gurus, their disciples are maybe 99% not following the instructions.
You're right, Prabhu.
It's a very sad situation, but this is the reality of life. And the fault is ours.
Yeah.
Fault is ours. And this is what I'm saying. Let's reflect one day. Let's sit back and reflect. What flaws do we have? What are we doing wrong? We read all this, which those offenses are we committing? We read about all the weaknesses. Which one of those weaknesses are ours? Let's read the Nectar of Destruction. Let's read the 6 things that destroy our devotional service and ask ourselves, which of those 6 are we doing? And then don't be shocked if the answer is all of them. Then let's look at verse number 3, talks about the 6 qualities that increase, and ask ourselves, which one of these actually I have, to what degree? These are the things we have to go through. If we want to be serious about Krishna consciousness, that's what we have to do. We have to ask ourselves many, many questions in a very self-critical way. Our problem is we have a habit of glossing over our faults and getting totally focused on others. And therefore, we don't make progress. Anything else?
Criticizing others' devotees, especially, is the worst.
Yeah. But we enjoy that so much, we keep doing it. Actually, the telephone companies make their money simply because we like to talk about other people. The day everybody stops talking about other people, telephone companies will go bankrupt. I guarantee it. Somebody has got a TV on, please mute yourself.
Krishna TV, Prabhuji, it seems talking slightly louder.
So can you put yourself on mute then? Any other questions or comments? Okay. In that case, I want to thank you for coming over to attend this session.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for taking the class.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for your cooperation, your kindness to give your time, encouragement.
Prabhuji,
Huh.
Actually, I don't have any like copies of from where you are reading, like any soft copy or link for this.
There's a book called Nectar of Devotion.
Yeah, but any soft copy is available?
Yes, it's online as well. You can get it on the web. Just Google Nectar of Devotion. You get an online copy.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Also, do you sometimes come to the temple?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So next time you come, let me know beforehand. I'll bring you a hard copy.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Just let me know, like Saturday or Sunday morning. You know,
yes,
then we might be bringing it. So I'll get you a hard copy.
Yes, sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anything else, anybody? Oh, okay. So Sakhi Surama just put on the chat the link for it, so you can get the hard soft copy. But if you remind me on a Sunday, then I'll bring the hard copy also. Do you see the chat? Do you see the link in the chat?
Yeah.
So if you want to just copy that. Anything else?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anybody, anything else?
Thank you, Prabhuji. We missed you on Thursdays.
Thank you. We missed you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So nice to see you all again.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nandi
Hare
Mukhi.
Krishna.
Hare Bol. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine.
I forgot your name. What's your name again?
Arav, Prabhuji.
Arav. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Arav is the little one. Mukesh is the big one, right?
Yeah. 2 kids of mine.
2 kids in your house. That's true.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah, same here, Prabhuji. We
So
missed you actually for this last 3 months of.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But let's hope we can keep it regular now.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah. It's great. And
thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Prabhuji, also to mention that Gautam Prabhuji came and handed me that Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yes,
I'm so happy
Prabhuji.
when you do that. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Nandi Mukhi, how are you doing?
I am okay, Pitashri.
You are okay?
I am okay. Just feeling is not very well. That's why I'm quiet today.
Oh, not feeling well?
Yeah, that's okay. Just little bit fever, not too much, just little bit. Pitashri.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe after 2 days, I'm okay.
I hope so, yeah. What caused the fever?
I don't know what happened suddenly.
Right?
And what about you? You're doing coughing. It's too much. I don't know. Are you okay?
Yeah, that's too much. Like, especially when I start talking,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes really hard. And, but what can you do? It's material.
Try to keep hot water with you.
Prabhu, that's a good point. That's a good point, yeah.
And honey, you take honey.
I'm taking kadha.
Oh,
that's really helping me.
Oh, very good. Yes.
Yeah, that's really helping.
This is continuing since Vrindavan, Prabhu?
Sorry, Prabhu?
Is it still continuing from Vrindavan itself?
Yeah, from there, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's been 3-4 months now.
When I was talking to you, you were still coughing there.
Yeah. It's better now, but still it's not so good.
Oh. Pitashri, it's Mahaprasadam, right?
Mahaprasadam, yes, what about it?
For Vrindavan.
Oh, from Vrindavan or for Vrindavan?
From Vrindavan.
Yeah, it's all finished now.
And same is Manu Prabhuji's same thing.
He finished it as well?
Is too much coughing. Now he is just little bit okay, but before just few days ago, it's too much coughing. You know, but it's okay. This is Mahaprashadam. It's okay, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, try honey and black pepper every night.
Prabhu, sorry, I couldn't hear.
Black pepper and honey, mix it, and every night just before you go to bed.
Oh, just the two things?
Please.
Okay, sure, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this kadha is really helping. Like, I'm like 60-70% better.
Good, but this will make it.
Yeah, sure. No, I'll try that. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Devjani, who's Sampriti Pal?
Oh, I don't know, Prabhuji, what's happening like
Because
everywhere.
I was confused.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Like whenever I join somewhere from Zoom, my name is showing like Sampriti Pal. I don't know why it's happening.
Whose name is it?
No, I really don't know, Rosie.
Oh, is that right? So you can change that, you know, you can say do rename.
Yeah, sure. I forgot actually.
Because
Yes,
I thought, you know, maybe I didn't recognize you. I got confused.
Oh, sorry, Prabhuji.
No, that's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal, but I'm just saying.
Yes. Prabhuji, and sometimes like when you are free someday, so please share your experiences from Vrindavan.
Yeah, actually, I've been planning to do that. As a matter of fact, I'll probably do that on 21st January. Go to somebody's house. Maybe you can do a Zoom call.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji, sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
You can join in. Yeah, I think that will be nice.
Yes, Prabhuji.
That was nice talk about all the experiences in Vrindavan.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Recall all the things. Yeah, it's very
yes,
nice.
Actually.
It's really quite an experience. You have to be there to experience it. You can't explain it, you know, the experience.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's like lifetime feeling.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Take care, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nadimukhi, take care of yourself. Bye, Arav. Bye.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Pitashri. Hare.
Nadimukhi, take care of yourself. I hope you take some medicine.
Definitely, Pitashri.
कोई दवा खा रही हो कि नहीं खा रही हो?
नहीं, अभी आज लूंगी. अभी दिया हुआ था पिताश्री, पर अभी छोड़ दिया बीच में, तो 2 दिन की डोज रह गई, इसलिए मुझे लगा कि हाँ दोबारा आ गया.
क्या एक डोज हम दें क्या तुमको? दवा खाते रहो भाई.
डांट की डोज दो आप. डांट लगेगी
और कोई बात नहीं भाई है.
नहीं ठीक हो जाएंगे. 1-2 दिन लगेगा.
प्लीज हाँ ठीक करो. हाँ
डेफिनेटली.
ओके ऑलराइट.
ओके. हरे कृष्णा. ध्यान रखें पिताश्री अपना.
हाँ बिल्कुल. थैंक यू. यू टू.
प्रभु जी, वन मोर क्वेश्चन फॉर यू.
हाँ बोलिए.
आप ठंडा पानी तो नहीं पीते दिन में?
वो पीते तो है, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है.
बिल्कुल ना पियो.
अब वही चक्कर में सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं होता.
ना सेटिस्फेक्शन छोड़ो, गर्म पानी पियो.
That's my weakness.
थ्रू आउट गर्म.
मुझे
पता आप पीते हैं, इसलिए मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको. बहुत
बड़ा. मुझे पहले बोला है.
ये बहुत मोटा पॉइंट है, आपको बताया मैंने. ठंडा पानी तो वैसे नहीं पीना चाहिए.
I know, bro.
वैसे ही नहीं पीना चाहिए. सेहत के लिए अच्छा ही नहीं है.
I know.
इवन डाइजेशन के लिए भी अच्छा नहीं है.
I know. I know, but I just can't help it.
मैं आपको सिंसियर रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप ट्राई टू अवॉइड इट.
नहीं प्रभु, I'm convinced that that's the right thing to do.
ना कन्विंस छोड़ो, इसको ट्राई करो कि ना पियो बस.
ठीक है प्रभु, आपने कह दिया छोड़ दिया.
थैंक यू.
हरे कृष्ण.
आई एम सो लकी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण देवजानी.